This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and NIL Game Changers. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, NIL Game Changers, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV, whatever your insurance needs happen to be. The great people at Purdy Insurance will make sure you're fully insured and do whatever they can to save you money. It's all at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. And anytime I get a chance to sit here and talk with Jody Mack, I relish the opportunity. My friend, welcome back.
How are you, Mr. Jones?
I'm doing well, Mr. McDonald. Everything good?
Yeah, all is well. We got the draft coming up. We got a baseball season underway. Phillies get you a little worried from time to time, but can't complain. We're sitting okay on the sports calendar these days.
And the sports calendar means that we have the NFL draft coming up, which is a season, it seems, unto itself. The Eagles, of course, right now are scheduled to pick 22. Howie Roseman and those guys seem to do a great job of finding value, and they're the type of team that finds value in the trenches. Do you think that, whether it's defensive line or offensive line, you think that that's where they might go here with this?
Distinct possibility that this is not just a 1 or 2 or 3 year trend. This goes all the way back to Andy Reid days, which was before Howie was part of the organization, but he wasn't the guru, the go-to guy on the draft. So this has been a forerunner of the Philadelphia Eagles for a long time. And yes, I think if you were a betting man, if you were just taking a position that you thought they were most likely to draft, I would say if you got the all-inclusive trenches, you would it'd be less than even money. But if you split it between offense and defense, I do think offensive line is their most logical first selection.
So offensive line, what about the possibility of an edge rusher because of what happened with Reddick?
Well, I think they've already cast that die by signing Bryce up to the contract they did at $17 million per. BG coming back for a swan song. They're hoping that Nolan Smith, last year's, and I'll use this word, disappointment of a first-round draft pick. Doesn't mean it'll be disappointment forever, but for a first-round draft pick 1 year in, I would say his production last year was disappointing. They decided to keep Josh Sweat. They had both of their main defensive edge guys up on the final year of a contract. They extend Sweat or redo the final year of his deal, and they end up trading Reddick. So they've got some depth at that position. There is one particular player in the draft that I do like a lot, Jared Verge from Florida State, a former Albany Great Dane, which is my alma mater before he became a Seminole. If he should fall all the way to 22, they could be tempted to go defensive end, but I don't think Verse is getting down there. So I doubt a defensive end is going to be their first pick.
I mean, to me, Verse is a top 10 prospect. I think he's a top 10. Now the quarterbacks push everybody down, as you and I both know. But you're right. A former Albany Great Dane. You know what? There's certain guys that show out at just the right time. He's done it. He has, I think, a lot of the stuff. Measurables. He's 6'4", 260. He's quick off the line. Right? You Albany Great Dane should be proud of him.
Exactly. I'm kind of hoping that he falls down to the Eagles at 22 so I can watch him throughout at least the minimum first 6 years of his career. But I'm with you. I think he's a top 10 talent. I think he'll go somewhere between 10 and 20. And I don't think Howie will move up to get him. If he needs to get up to 15, 16, whatever the number they believe he's going to go at, I don't think that's a position that they would move up for. So, unfortunately, I don't think Burns is going to be the Eagle, but if he is, I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah, no, he would be a tremendous pickup for Philadelphia. You talk about the offensive line, specifically where in that line do you think they need to go? Is just somebody you can play multiple positions or somebody that's locked into a spot?
This is what I'm hearing, and I get it, but I'm not necessarily in agreement with it, that the Eagles are hoping to find a guy that, if need be, they can plug in year one at the guard position, moving their guard from to center to replace Kelsey. Juergens moves inside. That they'd love to get a guy who they could play at guard for a year, 2 max, and if and when Lane Johnson calls it a career, be able to move him outside. That's something that I would rather see a team do with a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, day 3 type pick to get a versatile guy who's a backup type player to do that with a starter. Now, they just did it with Juergens, so it's certainly doable, but that was a second-round pick, not a first-round pick. When you're using 22nd overall on a guy that you're going to play at one position, but then eventually hope he plays another, I'm not sure I would go there. But from what I'm hearing, my sources tell me that would be the type of player the Eagles would love to get at 22. Patanu, the big kid from Washington, certainly fills that bill. Don't know if he's going to be available. For Shanu, for your Penn State listeners know how good a player he is. Yep. Again, if he's there at 22 or if he gets to 20, the Eagles might be willing to jump up and make a move for him. If I were a betting man, my number one choice would be J.C. Latham from Alabama. They just took Dickerson from Alabama and extended him for massive millions of dollars. He has been a tremendous success for the Eagles. I don't think they'd mind going back in to the Roll Tide offensive line to get their next biggest horse up front.
Yeah, Latham would be a terrific pick, but then again, who also recruited him heavily when he was coming out of high school? Jim Harbaugh. Where is he? Last time I checked, he was with the Chargers. So
yeah, but he's going number 5. He's not taking J.C. Latham at number 5. No. We both like Latham. He's not a top 5 pick.
No, he's not a top 5 pick. Probably Joe Alt is a guy that actually could move inside if you wanted to, but he's a top 10 pick. He's not going to be there, and that's what you have to worry about. Later rounds, defensively, where would you like to see them go when they get to the later rounds?
If they don't go corner, and I think they probably will with either their first or second, I think it's going to more likely offensive lineman. I've been saying corner all along. I thought re-signing Avonte Maddox was a smart move. They got him for a very reasonable contract with a lot of things tied to incentives that takes the dire need for a slot corner off the board. Yeah. So I think they're more likely to go offensive line than corner. But if they go corner, that would be right in the first round. If not, I think a cornerback in the second or third round is a possibility. Everyone will scream for a linebacker because the Eagles always underemphasize linebacker. He's not going to be in the first round. They do have 2 second-round picks. So if they use one of those 2 at linebacker, would not surprise me. And as you and I discussed, defensive end, but see, the defensive end group here is top-heavy for me. I think that I'd rather take a project in day 3 than take a defensive end in round number 2 with their 2 picks. So either first round or I think defensive end waits.
I'll throw out a corner for you that might be available. I know it won't go in round 1, but he's not far from you. Max Melton of Rutgers. I'd throw that name out there and take a long, hard look at it. This kid can play.
Know him, like him. He will be there, I think, with either of the 2 Eagles second-round picks. And depending on what they do with their first 2 picks, look at the third pick, late second round, that could help to dictate what they do. I do like him. If the Eagles had a third-round pick, I think he'd be a perfect guy to slot into that third round. They do not. So if they want to take a guy like him, they're going to have to do so in the second round, which I wouldn't say is a reach. I would say it's a fair value pick. But again, depends on what they do with their first 2 if they're still looking for corner come their second pick in the second round.
All right, now everything that we've been talking about is predicated on how many quarterbacks are taken, especially in round 1. So let's just slide the Eagles. Last I checked, don't need one. they're in pretty good shape there. What is your viewpoint of these top quarterbacks that everybody knows is going to go in the first round? What's your viewpoint on them?
I think they're all okay. I don't think there is a slam dunk, unquestioned, going to be like they had Trevor Lawrence, and we see with Trevor Lawrence, he's been very good. He hasn't been great yet, and he was the best prospect to come out at least 10 years, if not 20 years back to Andrew Luck, which is less than 20 years ago. My personal favorite of all of them is Drake May from North Carolina. Yeah. And I don't know too many people that have him ranked as the number one quarterback. Most have Caleb Williams as number one. Some think Jaden Daniels actually could become the best quarterback in this class. I'm a Drake May guy. He does things from the pocket. I know that everyone wants to do stuff off schedule and out of the pocket, and that's a major added value. You still have to be able to do it. It's got to start in the pocket. And I think he's the best pocket quarterback of the group. And, oh, by the way, he's athletic to make plays off schedule and outside the pocket. It's not like he's a statue in the pocket. I think he's got the best in-pocket game and does give you that flexibility to get outside when necessary. So he would be my top-ranked guy. Williams and Daniels are both close for me, and then there's a drop-off. I know J.J. McCarthy has moved up a lot of draft boards with the phenomenal record they put up at Michigan, but Michigan won a championship more so because of defense and the ability to run the ball than J.J. McCarthy throwing it for me. I'm not as high on him as some. If he ends up going in the top five, some people think that it's going to be quarterback, and then another at either 4 or 5. I think he will be woefully overdrafted. And of the other quarterbacks in the draft, I think Michael Penix is the best group. Yeah. Bo Nix is rated by some ahead of Penix. I would take Penix. I think, again, his ability to do things from the pocket would intrigue me if I were a team like the Raiders, who probably should be drafting a quarterback in the first round in the mid-teens. Don't know if they will, but I think Penix would be a really good fit in Vegas.
Yeah, no, Penix, and it's interesting you mentioned the 6 because I've broadcast games with 3 of the 6. Bo Nix, Penix several times, McCarthy several times. I'm with you on McCarthy. Do I think he's a good player? Yes. Do I think he moves well enough and can improvise when it's time to run? Yes. Do I think he's accurate? He's okay. Right? But picking him in the top 5? Jody, no way. And in a 1 through 32, he's not one of the 32 best players out there.
I don't think so.
No, I mean, that's just me.
Or I think so. But again, you said it earlier, and you were dead on right. Quarterbacks get moved up the board, artificially moved up the board because of the importance of the position. And there are a good number of teams in the NFL right now that need to change out their quarterback, that need to take a shot and go with some youth. Now, you got to get it right. And I'm not sure about J.J. McCarthy. Sounds like you're not either. But mark my words, somebody is going to take him in the first. I think the absolute furthest he can fall in the draft is down to the top dozen. I'd be shocked if he's still on the board come pick number 13, and good luck to whatever team takes him.
Isn't it amazing? All of you would be shocked how much we think alike, because I'm sitting there thinking he will go past 12, and then he says it. That's amazing.
Smart minds think alike, Steve.
That's right, and we can promote ourselves as smart minds. That's our job. We can do that all we want. Because, what's interesting is that, like, Caleb Williams. Now, I did not do a Caleb Williams game because Penn State did not play Oklahoma or USC. Now, they will this year, but not with him there. But I watch him. You know what strikes me about him? And you can't do this in this league. He holds the ball too long. And in this league, if you hold the ball too long, you are looking up at the sky.
He wants to make the big play, and it's understandable because he's as talented a kid as he is. What bothers me is I actually think he went backwards from this year from the previous year. And I always like my quarterbacks trending up rather than going back. Now, USC's defense stunk I'm not sure they could stop you and I, but so he was usually playing from behind and had to throw the football a lot. So, and his offensive line was, and for USC, that's bad that they don't have a good offensive line, but it wasn't great this past year. So there are some explanations as to why he took a slight step back this year, but still not something I want to see if I'm going to be using the number 1 overall pick on a QB.
All right, so overall, when you look at this draft, I mean, you have to make a selection that fits you in a lot of ways. Is this the kind of draft that has enough depth in it, in your opinion, to help teams?
Yes, and there's one position above all others, in my opinion, and this could be, I guess it's an outside shot that the Eagles could take their second round pick at this position. I would probably say doubtful, but not impossible. Wide receiver. This is one of the best wide receiver drafts we've had in years, certainly at the top with the 3 guys who are going to go in the top 10 picks overall, Harrison, Adunze, and Neighbors. And then there's strength afterwards, all the way through the first 3 rounds of the draft. If you get a wide receiver in the first 2 days, you've got a guy who's going to be good enough to step in and play for you day number 1. So that's, for me, that's the most impressive position. Second would probably be offensive line, where we think the Eagles may very well go. There are at least 6, if not 7, that are going to go in the first round, and one very well may be the Eagles. And what I'm told is the depth at offensive line is pretty good, too. Maybe not as good as wide receiver depth-wise, but offensive line is another position that will be grading highly 5 years down the road, which is when we should actually we'll grade the draft 10 minutes after it's over, but we should really wait 5 years to be able to say, yeah, that was a hell of a draft, or oh my God, that was a terrible draft. We have to wait and see.
See, this is why I bring him on. He brings that kind of perspective. That's the realistic perspective. But we all have to grade it the day after. Oh, it's a C. Nobody knows.
Oh, yeah.
Jody, you're the best, my friend. Look forward to talking to you again. Maybe we'll talk again before the Derby. How about that?
Done deal. You call, I'll answer with a winner.
You got it. Thank you, my friend.
Take it easy, Steve.
The great Jody McDonald, Jody Mac, talking about the Eagles draft. We did that, by the way, to appease Matt Catrillo. He has been going through draft scenarios left and right. He has, in fact, he's done now 272 draft boards. I tried to point out that, like, that's probably too many. I know, Todd, you tried to talk him off the ledge.
He likes his scenarios.
Oh. We'll come back with more in a moment on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Purdy Insurance.
Spring has sprung, and it's time to dust off those insurance policies. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855 or visit our website at purdyinsurance.com to see what we can do for you.
There's something to be said about a sale with a handshake, a service technician who really knows what he's doing. They can explain it in English what the problem is. There's nothing better than having that friend you could trust in the area. That's Sunbury Motors, where you get selection, knowledgeable salespeople, and prices that fit your budget, and more important, that friend you can trust. Welcome to Sunbury Motors, Kia, Ford, and Hyundai. You could shop other dealers and compare prices, but at Sunbury Motors, you get their lowest price promise. They research the current used vehicle market and guarantee their used car prices are the lowest. If you find a lower price, Sunbury Motors will beat it. 3 dealers all in one. See their full new and pre-owned inventory at sunburymotors.com. Pick out a vehicle you like and schedule your test drive online. Follow them on Facebook. Sunbury Motors Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.